Hi, I'm Ruth Ryder, Acting Director of the Office of Special Education Programs, and I'm here to talk to you about our Family Engagement Policy Statement that we're working on with the Department's Office of Early Learning and Health and Human Services Early Childhood Programs. We're excited about the draft policy statement on family engagement from the early years to the early grades. The policy statement, similar to the inclusion policy statement, is a joint effort between ED and HHS. The purpose of this policy statement is to provide recommendations from the U.S. Department of Education and HHS on systematically engaging families in their children's development, learning, and wellness across early childhood and early elementary settings. The public comment period has just ended as of early January, and we received over 300 comments from the field. We received many substantive comments, and we thank the field for your many responses. ED and HHS are working through the comments and revising the policy statement, and we hope to have a final family engagement policy statement by early spring. It's the position of the departments that all early childhood programs in schools recognize families as equal partners in providing children development, learning, and wellness across all settings and over the course of their children's developmental and educational experiences. The joint ED-HHS statement aims to advance this goal by reviewing the research base that supports effective family engagement in children's learning, development, and wellness, identifying core principles of effective family engagement practices from ED and HHS's framework to devise successful policy and program development, providing recommendations to states, LEAs, schools, and community-based early childhood programs to implement effective family engagement, and highlight resources for states, LEAs, schools, and early childhood programs to build capacity to effectively partner with families. Families are children's first and most important teachers, advocates, and nurturers. Family engagement is central, not supplemental, to promoting children's healthy development and wellness. Effective family engagement practices are a marker of quality early childhood programming. Together, states, LEAs, schools, and early childhood programs have the responsibility to promote effective family engagement that improves children's learning, development, and wellness. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Parent Information Center in New Hampshire. Family engagement is very much close to my heart. I'm a professional in the field, but my passion really comes from my own personal experience. When I was pregnant with my first child, there were some complications during her birth, and she was born, as I tell her, blue floppy and not breathing. And she was rushed to Boston Children's Hospital 6 hours after she was born. So my husband and I not only were new parents, we were propelled into the world of disability. We had to navigate systems, navigate resources, and ultimately had to trust and rely on other people. And that was really difficult for me. I'm not someone who likes to ask for help. I know the importance of it, but it's just something that I really struggled with. So I have a lot of passion for this subject, and it's really validated my beliefs system around how family engagement is very important. And I'm really excited to share with you today around how to create authentic family engagement and do some authentic family engagement work in early intervention and preschool special ed. We can talk about the research. The research is really clear and convincing. We know that parents are a child's first and most influential teacher. We know that early learning supports development, and we know that parents have a huge role in that. We know parents and caregivers, when they talk and they sing with their children at birth, from birth on, that they talk earlier, their vocabulary is bigger, and ultimately they learn to read much more quickly. So it's really a key development. We also know that when parents and children and schools and agencies and providers work together and continually support children's learning and development, that kids do better, that children do better. And this holds true regardless of any ethnic or racial background, socioeconomic status, or any type of parent education level. And that's why this is really key. There's been a lot of research done around it. For many families, barriers to being engaged may seem so insurmountable, such a huge mountain that they're trying to climb up. And those barriers, we all know what they are, but it's important to recognize them. We know that they may be intimidated. Families might be intimidated because of their own education level and their discomfort from past educational experiences or conflicts with their work. They may be struggling to make ends meet or having child care, or there might be language and cultural barriers. And families are also often uncertain about how or why they should be involved. I am a middle-class family member, and when my daughter entered this world and we were navigating the world of disability, I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know how I was supposed to be involved, and I was intimidated. I'm still intimidated when I walk into a school, and I'm the executive director of an agency. And I think that when I talk about this with other families, I think that helps them know that this fear or, uncertainty happens to everybody. It's not just one of us. So we want to make sure that families are able to ask questions and communicate effectively and advocate for their child. But parents may not know what to ask, and so we have to think about how can we accomplish this. But I want to make sure we know that the barriers for the family is just half of the equation. And just as families need support, the professionals around them need support and information to work with families as well. And this gets at the dual capacity building framework from the Department of Education, because we know the teachers tell us, agency members tell us that they want to work with families, but they don't always have the skills or the know-how or their support. And so we want to make sure that people know how to do that. So how do we cultivate authentic family engagement? Really, it's a mind shift, and we really have to think about that. It's a mind shift from doing one more thing to integrating it into everything that we do and valuing it. It's making it systemic. One of the first things we have to do is develop positive relationships, because those positive relationships allow for meaningful two-way communication and coordination around children's goals and progress and strategies to support learning and development. And trust is the cornerstone of that. And think about your spouse or think about your best friend. Did you just begin to trust them and immediately rely upon them? Chances are it took time. And so we have to realize that we need to presume positive intentions, but that there's a trust level that's going to be developed when we share and learn from each other and we share our different sets of expertise. And it takes work, and we have to develop those two-way communication mechanisms. Think about what we can do within the school to make sure that the school knows what's going on with the child at home and that the school communicates with the family about what's going on within the school building. Make sure you start where the family's at, not where you think they should be or where you'd want them to be. Focus on the priorities and build trust in the relationship. One of the examples I want to give is with my daughter. Right after we learned she qualified for early intervention, she had torticollis and had some plagiocephaly with her head, so a piece of her head was flat due to the tight muscles. And one of the first visits, and I remember this, is that the provider came in and she was very concerned about the flatness of her head. And I wasn't ready to talk about that, but it was immediately alerted to my attention, and I had to navigate the emotions with that, and I really wasn't ready to hear it. Turns out everything was okay, but balancing where I was at compared to where I was ready to go in terms of what we needed to be explored. You always have to keep that in the back of your mind. You also have to recognize the variety of ways that parents engage in their child's learning and development and validate those strengths and build upon them. We want to make sure there aren't judgments on different values that a family member has, and we go with the strengths that they're offering and build on those. I want you to emphasize the important roles that families play in learning and development of their own child and show them how they can integrate it at home. Bring that from what's going on at school and show them what they can do at home. We know that learning happens across environments, but families don't know what's going on at school unless teachers can share that information so that they can replicate it. We also need to respect and embrace family's culture and ensure that all families can benefit from early intervention and preschool special education. And this means that we have to ensure that services are linguistically and culturally appropriate. If you have multicultural staff, that certainly helps. If you're not able to, you need to then at least, if nothing else, ensure that materials are translated in a home language or that interpreters are used. It's important to recognize that there's no one way to build engagement with families. Every family is unique, but I will say it's all about the teamwork. It's the expertise of everyone, including the family, that makes this a success. And I know that I always credit our family's early intervention team for getting my daughter to where she was when she left early intervention and for the success that she's had. But I also recognize that it's our success as well, that it's our success as a family, and that is also as she's gone into school. It's the success of the school, but it's also the success in the family. It's all of our success. Thank you.